Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, June the 5th, and thanks for joining us on Up to the Minute. I'm Andrea Bonner, Chair of Consumer Arts and Sciences Center of Excellence, filling in again for Mr. Todd Duplantis. And we have Dr. Nicholas Cox joining me today, who's our History Department Chair, and he's going to tell everyone how to find us on social media and on TV. Dr. Cox?
Good morning, Andrea. Thank you. It's good to be here again. We're live on the Houston Community College District Facebook page and on YouTube. We're also on Twitter, LinkedIn, and HCCTV at noon, 5 and 10 p.m., Monday through Friday.
Great. So for Mental Health Monday, we're discussing depth psychotherapy and a multifunctional healing center. We have today Dr. John Price, who is the co-founder of the Center for Healing Arts and Sciences, and he's a depth psychotherapist. But first, we're going to be talking about some new labs that the Center for Learning Innovation is constructing for faculty. Dr. Brenda Quintanilla, who is the regional manager for HCC Innovation, Instructional Technology, and Learning Services, is here today. So welcome back to the show, Dr. Quintanilla. It's been a long time since we had you here, and we're looking forward to hearing what your department is doing. So let's begin with what's going on this summer in the Centers for Learning Innovation. So tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show again. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, here at the Centers for Learning Innovation, we work year-round. We have centers throughout the district. So you will find them at almost all of our campuses. We have 3 regional managers who manage the Centers for Learning Innovation. Myself, we have Dr. David Coulter, who manages the Central Region, and then Dr. Sandra LeBron manages the centers that are on the west side of town. Basically, what we do is we support faculty and students with the integration of innovative technology. So we're here to provide services for faculty to help them integrate the technology, work with online courses in our Canvas platform, integrate and find ways really to engage students both online and in the classroom. Our department is a little bit different than IT. We work more with the training side of it, whereas IT really works with the technology side with hardware and software and things like that. So we're here and ready to help students and faculty when they need it.
Yeah, we've worked a lot with you with Ruben Duran over at HCC Central and Dr. David Coulter. So you guys have done a lot of great stuff for us.
Yeah,
so for students and faculty who may not have heard about your XR labs, tell us a little bit more about the XR labs.
Right. So part of our Centers for Learning Innovation, we have different labs that we manage. We have faculty labs, we have some student areas, and then we also have a lab called an XR lab, and it basically stands for extended reality. And in these labs, we have innovative technology. So depending on which lab you go in, you're going to find things like virtual reality equipment, 3D printing, vinyl cutting, 360 cameras. And this is all technology that's available for both faculty and students to use. Some of our labs are through reservation. And so, for instance, when you work with Ruben at Central Campus, he likes to reserve the labs, work with faculty and students. On the East region, like at our Eastside campus and Angela Morales building, we really have it more as an open lab. So students can come in to these labs and experiment with the technology. And really the goal is for our students and faculty to become familiar with the innovation that's out there and ways to use the technology for teaching and learning.
Great. You mentioned the 3D printing and vinyl cutting. Give us a little more information about what you all do with that and what the options are available to students and faculty.
So we have in most of the labs, there are Ultimaker 3D printers. And with the 3D printing, students can come in, we can help them develop or build on 3D models. If they have some ideas of 3D models and items they want to print, we have some really great free programs that we kind of point our students to. There's Thingiverse or Tinkercad, and you can create accounts for these. They're fairly simple to use. And then our staff will help students get those models into our Ultimaker so that they can print these 3D models. We've also had instructors assign group projects to students where they create these models for group projects. And then we've also printed items for faculty that they can use as a model in class. So we provide those services as well. The thing with 3D printing, though, is it doesn't print like a piece of paper. So it's not something that prints very quickly. We do need some advanced time to be able to make sure that the item's printed. And depending on the size and the density of the models, they can take several hours and even a couple of days to print, depending on what it is.
I was just going to ask, how long would a particular item take to print? And you already answered that. So thank you. So I hear that there's construction of new labs happening on campuses. What can you tell us about these new labs?
So this past year, we were approved through HER funding to design and develop these new labs. They're going to be specific for faculty. They're video studio labs, and they're going to have a special equipment in them called light boards. And what the instructors can do with the light boards is they can videotape themselves lecturing or demonstrating a model or a concept writing on the light boards. And what the camera does is it actually inverts the text. So if they're writing, the camera inverts the text so the viewer will see that text facing the right direction. And then the other thing we can do is superimpose images or PowerPoints and things on these light boards so that the instructor can stand right next to their presentation and write on those presentations. And what's nice about this is it's really great for remediation. You can use these for online courses or just to upload to Canvas so students can rewatch some lectures that may be more difficult concepts to learn. But we invite anybody who wants to do a presentation or a lecture using this type of technology. We're going to do our training this week for our internal team. And then we're going to launch our new labs in the fall. And we're really excited about offering the technology for faculty to be able to use.
That's great. So where can students learn more about this technology, how to access it, all of those things?
There's a URL that I provided. They can follow, even if they Google it for HCC's Open Labs. There's information there about labs and our XR Lab locations. Also, if you just Google, virtual reality at Houston Community College, you'll have a couple of pages that come up with some examples of virtual reality and some of the projects that we've actually worked on with different departments, and you can view those. And then there's also a way to reserve those labs there. So there's a reservation option on the link.
If I'm on a campus that doesn't have, again, how do I go? You said I can go out there to reserve it if I'm on a campus that doesn't have these resources, or
if you're on a campus that doesn't have the resources, you will need to travel to a campus that does have the resources, but you can get in touch with any of the regional managers. And we can provide you with more information in addition to the link. The thing with the regions is that you can go to any lab as an instructor. If you're teaching on the west side, but you live on the east side, you can come to an east side lab to experiment with the technology and learn how to use it. You don't necessarily have to only go to the labs that are on the campuses you're teaching on. So we support all faculty district-wide. So if you're interested, just go to the one that's closest to where you are, and we're more than happy to help you learn about the technology and also find ways that you can successfully integrate it to support teaching and learning. And that's the primary thing we want to do.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of faculty feel like if I'm on, central campus, I can only stay on central campus. So we want faculty to know that they can go to any campus and access this technology. And you mentioned also showing some examples of what you did. So hopefully, I mentioned Ruben working with our fashion department. So I hope that some of those examples are up there. We were able to take some of the things that we did in person, our in-person fashion shows and all of those things, and incorporate some virtual reality over while we were in COVID. So that allowed us to kind of maintain that continuity during that time. So we really appreciate all that you guys have done. And I wouldn't have known about it otherwise, because I wouldn't say anything that I would normally be interested in. But after working with Ruben and Dr. Coulter and his team, it certainly is something that we really value now. So thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about that?
Yeah, the example is there, and also of a tour showing the videos of your fashion shows and things in the immersive environments. We've also worked with immersive environments like a Wanda VR, Frame VR with our instructors. We did a really great project too last summer with, believe it or not, cosmetology. Their students created virtual salons inside of these environments. And the students did a really great job uploading models, creating their spaces. And so you can see some of those things online as well with videos, but it's a lot of fun. And I do encourage everybody to come out and visit our XR labs or reserve the space so that they can learn more about the technology. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Dr. Quintanilla, who is the Regional Manager for ACC Innovative Instructional Technology and Learning Services. And we'll have your information in our post after the show. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you. Next, we're going to be moving on to Nick and Dr. John Price, who is the co-founder of the Center for Healing Arts and Sciences and Depth Psychotherapist. So welcome to the show, John. Oh, thank you. I think that's Nick who's going to fill in, who's going to take it over.
Thank you, Andrea.
I'm trying to take your job, Nick.
Oh, not a problem. Not a problem. Great first segment. Welcome to the show, John. We appreciate you filling in for our regular guest, Dr. Fitzpatrick. Do I understand you guys are both at the Jung Center?
Yes, well, I'm on the board over there, and thanks for having us. Dr. Fitzpatrick is a dear friend, and so I'm the vice president of the board. I also teach at the Jung Center. Okay, I have a group practice that my wife and I started just up the road.
Well, wonderful. He's a valued member of our Mental Health Monday episodes. But before we get into depth psychology, can you tell us a little bit about the Center for Healing Arts and Sciences?
Sure. We're kind of an ever-changing landscape where we'll make a joke where we're kind of growing this business that is an airplane that we're flying while we're building it. So it's a dance. We are currently a group of psychotherapists and acupuncturists that come together and collaborate for healing. So it's a bit of a different landscape. My wife is an acupuncturist and trained in traditional Chinese medicine, and I'm a depth psychotherapist. And so really it's a conversation between us we've been having about healing and how to affect change for folks that seek us out. We offer different services and that it's a collaborative model, not that we just office together, but we really sit around the table each week and talk about how to engage folks that seek us out in different ways. So it's powerful stuff.
Well, okay. So a client or a patient might see both of you for psychotherapy and acupuncture and other healing strategies.
Sure, and the value is that it's not just the person you work with; it's the collaboration that happens outside of that care. And so when we sit around and talk about what's going on with the folks we're working with, we can get insight and directives from other modalities that end up helping the individual who's kind of the point person. So it's a way of approaching care that isn't so specialized. It helps the process for each clinician to be able to query what they're doing and what they're missing. And as a psychotherapist, I can often miss body-oriented dynamics, and vice versa. Somebody who's going at kind of the deeper aspects of the psyche through the body, they might miss certain mental aspects of what's going on. So we really make the collaborative model the point that we engage in, and it really is quite transformative for folks because it provides it doesn't become fixed. The approach doesn't become fixed.
Well, our viewers might not be familiar with the term depth psychology. So what exactly is depth psychology?
Yeah, what we're learning today in modern neuroscience really helps validate what's happening in depth psychology. Depth psychology is really born out of the work of Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, late 1800s, early 1900s. And it posits that we are a multiplicity as human beings. We have many layers to us. And we have this part of us, this singular orienting force we call the ego, that posits itself as the totality of our experience. But what neuroscience continues to suggest to us is that we are many personalities. We're not just one. And so we need to get into our inner landscape and figure out what all these different personalities might want of us, might want from us. So we have, even in neuroscience, we have a downstairs brain and an upstairs brain. And those have different value systems. Our cognitive element and our emotion, right? Our anger and our cognition are sometimes not working together. And so what we want to do is help each individual query what different parts of them might be activated and to create an opportunity to start to dialogue with their inner world in a different way that modern psychology or modern medicine tends to look at pathology. So you come in and you say, I have this symptom and I don't want this symptom anymore. And so we try to get rid of that symptom. We do things a little bit differently. We're trying to find out what the symptom needs because we believe that the psyche is intelligent and that it's purposeful. And that if, for example, you have a grief You have a great loss in your life and you feel sadness. Modern approaches might say we need to medicate or reduce the symptoms of that sadness. And whereas what I would suggest is that we need to explore the sadness as deeply as possible. We need to let it exist and express itself in its totality and figure out what the sadness is.
John, could I ask a clarifying question? Would you describe this approach as necessary to heal what you might call spiritual wounds? Could you tell our viewers a little bit about what a spiritual wound means and how that approach addresses that?
So this gets really interesting. We occupy the body, the body, mind, heart, spirit approach. And when it comes to our spirituality, we have these deep questions about who we are, where we've come from, and where we're going. Every culture in every period of time has asked these central questions, and they're not to be reduced. They're to be cherished. They're to be queried, and they're not to be easily answered. And so the fact that we think on some level we understand what existence is a horrible misunderstanding. There are ultimate mysteries of our existence that are unanswerable. And so it's important for us to be in relationship with these great mysteries, not to seek a definite reduction that can answer for what that is, but to be in relationship with the mysteries of this existence. I did some research with a fellow who said the three greatest questions that are unanswerable by science today are: what is matter? What is consciousness? And how does matter create this subjective experience of being alive? And we don't know. The answer is we don't know. So existence continues to offer us these really confusing questions. And rather than be to have nice answers, what we do is create a relationship with mysteries. And that's where the world of spirituality or religion comes into play. In its best of times. In its best of times, it helps us relate to the mysterious aspects of our consciousness. And the religious traditions really are a psychotherapeutic tradition. So depth psychology honors not only anthropology and sociology and psychology and the sciences, it looks at what the religions have been saying about the way we've evolved our understanding of who we are and what we're doing here.
Well, John, I had a question about integrative care, and my understanding initially was that it would be more like what you described working with your partner, doing mind and body integrative, but now you're also talking about bringing in the spiritual aspect. How much of this is related to the client-centered approach that the Center for Healing Arts and Sciences takes?
Yeah, it's quite a lot. One of the things you'll hear as a psychotherapist is to meet the client where they are. And so we don't come with any assumptions about what's going on. We want to hear and understand how the individual is framing their issues. Not to say that we're any more of an expert. We might help you query deeper aspects of yourself, but really everybody comes in as the expert. And so I'm not some kind of specialist that has a special form of knowledge that's going to provide you the solution to the issue that you're going through because you don't have access to what you need. I'm the person that's going to help you wrestle with ultimately very difficult questions about your existence, about your traumas, about the patterns in your life that you continuously experience, about the unknown aspects of why you're suffering in the way that you're suffering, and to see what you're carrying. What are the struggles that you're dealing with? My friend James Hollis says, when he goes on tour, he says, I've sat around with many, many people in all kinds of different audiences. And when I ask the question, where in life are you stuck? I've never had anybody say, what do you mean? The fact of the matter is we all know what kind of angst and suffering that we all carry. They're just different for each of us. And so when you go to a place where it's confidential and private and secure, and you do have an expert who's willing to show up for you and say, hey, let's figure out what's going on with you, we can reorient the individual from thinking that they need to look outside themselves for a solution to going inside to find the solution and discover that they are way more powerful than they believe themselves to be.
Well, John, I understand you guys have a podcast, and clearly we love podcasts here at the HCCTV station. Tell us about the Sacred Speaks podcast.
Sure. So Sacred Speaks is a podcast I've been hosting for about 5 years. It happened as I finished my doctorate, and I went into a minor depression, which a lot of people don't talk about. When you finish all this academic work and you go, oh my gosh, I now have nothing to do, you're kind of aimless. And so in that depression, in that descent, I realized that I wanted to continue the work. So I started this podcast where I look at religion and spirituality and psychology and science and mysticism and psychedelics. And I'm trying to figure out what these, again, mysteries that permeate our existence in every culture at every epoch, throughout all of history and say, what is it? What's happening with our human experience? So I read a book from an expert and I talk to them about it, and it's been radical. I've spoken with some of the leading theorists and scientists and religious scholars, ranging from Jill Bolte Taylor, who wrote a great book called My Stroke of Insight, to Richard Rohr, who's written extensively on the subject of religion and mysticism, and many others. It's been a real gift. So that I highly recommend. If anybody ever thinks about doing a podcast, start it as soon as you can.
Well, excellent. Thank you. We want to wish you the best as you build and fly this plane at the same time. And we want to thank you, John Price, co-founder of the Center for Healing Arts and Sciences and depth psychotherapist. We'll have your info in the post after the show.
Great. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Price, and thank you, Dr. Cox, for that great interview. Next, we're going to talk to our viewers about some exciting news, events, and announcements. We've always got some great stuff going on at HCC. First off, we've got our IT Summer STEM Camps, and there's several sessions of those going on. HCC's Digital and IT Center of Excellence is inviting middle and high school students to explore Apple Swift coding, cybersecurity, drone building and flying, and virtual reality. Sounds pretty exciting. The week-long camps offer underserved communities the latest in technology and high-impact careers. The free summer camps also include lunch. We've got the first session, June 6th through the 12th, on drones and cybersecurity, and it's going to be held at ACC's North Forest campus. So you can check our post after the show for registration information. Nick, do you want to tell us about our Veterans Career Fair?
Yeah, certainly. The HCC West Loop is hosting the VMAS Department of HCC and the Department of Veterans Affairs. They're hosting a career fair at the HCC West Loop campus. So students are encouraged to bring a resume, wear professional attire. This is Wednesday, June 7th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Again, that's the West Loop campus. So check our post after the show for registration information.
Great. Next sounds like something. It says teens and adults summer dance classes. Sounds like something I'd want to do. HCC's Community Learning Program is offering classes for teens and adults to accompany its kids and senior courses. So these classes include tap, jazz, and Middle Eastern belly dancing. We have Tuesdays and Saturdays from June 6th or June 10th through August 8th or 12th. And that's going to be held at our HCC Spring Branch campus. Again, our post after the show is going to have all the information for times, fees, and registration information. So next.
Well, our Instagram One College exhibition is up. The Instagram is serving as the gallery's walls for an exhibition that features studio classes from all colleges in the HCC system. The viewing link is available now through August 14th for free. Instagram HCC Visual Arts Center at HCC_visual_arts. For information, we'll have an email in our post after the show, but you guys should follow all of the HCC Instagram accounts.
Yes, thank you. And our virtual info sessions, calling all our future Eagles out there. Starting your higher education journey can be intimidating. So HCC is here to help with virtual information sessions. They're held twice a month, and they're going to help you get registered for summer and fall classes. HCC admissions advisors will help students apply, secure financial aid, decide on education and career pathways, and also connect with student support services. And again, that information is after the show. Next, fall registration.
That's right. You know, summer has begun. There is still time to register for summer sessions, particularly summer session 2 beginning in July, but fall registration is open. You can register, but hurry if you want to secure your course, professor, location, and any particular needs you have. All classes should be offered in online and in-person options. We have online anytime, online on a schedule, in-person and hybrid, as well as hybrid lab classes. To learn more about HCC programs, start dates, and options to cover costs, go to hccs.edu/apply.
Great. So coming up, we'll welcome Jordan Carswell, our friend who is the Director of Innovative Strategies at the West Houston Institute, where all things amazing seem to happen at HCC. And we'll be discussing a special program between HCC's Logistics Department and the Port of Houston called Setting Sails. So thanks everyone for joining us again for today. We will see you next time. Take care.